All right, let's cut across directly to my colleague who's been reporting now day 12. He's been there since a fortnight, getting our viewers the very latest in a war-torn country, Ukraine. He's joining me from Irpin, Gaurav Sawant, and his camera person Pawan joins us from there. Over to you, Gaurav. What are you witnessing?
This is the road to Irpin, and this is a very crucial checkpoint where you see people desperately running away from the battle zone of Irpin. Multiple checkpoints here. As you can see, you have the Ukrainian army that is deployed here. You have the militia who are deployed here. And every few minutes, there are ambulances that rush in from Irpin carrying injured soldiers and those who are desperate to leave. For example, one more emergency vehicle has just fetched up. It is bringing in people from Irpin. The International Red Cross also has food, medicines, water, doctors all on standby at this entry point. In vehicles and in hundreds, people are trying to flee Irpin at this point of time. Whatever vehicle they may get, they try to rush to this point and hoping to get out of here, hoping to get to safety. The problem is the ceasefire that has been announced in several other parts of Ukraine, especially Kyiv and Mariupol, and Sumy and Kharkiv, that's not holding in this part. Beyond these points, firing is intense, shelling is intense, and even here, every few minutes, people are asked to vacate this area because of the firing and shelling that is taking place. Just a short while back, we had a number of ambulances that had fetched up with some injured soldiers and civilians. You could see those injured soldiers and civilians here. Beyond these checkpoints, only if you are an accredited journalist are you permitted to go beyond this. India Today team is also trying to get to Irpin to get you much more on what's happening on ground. The images are horrifying. The picture is extremely scary with several buildings targeted in the shelling. We are told that there are pitched battles on at this point of time, not very far from where we are on this road to Irpin. Barely 14 minutes from where we are standing right now. 14 minutes from here is where the Russian soldiers and the Ukrainian soldiers are literally fighting for the control of the roadhead. And from the roadhead, the Russians want to advance further. But the Ukrainian army is holding them back. As of now, some injured people have been brought in, and they are both soldiers and civilians. Those who require emergency treatment, there are several ambulances that are on standby here. And if you see these long queue of buses, all these buses have been brought here so that those who need to flee the battle area can be taken to safer places. But it's very pertinent to note that only women, children and the elderly are permitted to go. The men have to fight. The men have to stay back and fight. Let's walk ahead and take you closer to that checkpoint where we will be in a position to tell you what's happening beyond these lines. This is actually the last line or the first line of defense here, in the sense that beyond this is an active battle area. There are bullets that are coming this way. There are shells that are falling in this area. And there you see one more bus has just fetched up with children, families coming out of Irpin, and they're saying that only in ambulances and only in school buses are people coming in also here. Fighter jets ahead. So in this part of the war zone, you can hear the roar of the fighters, you can see the fighters, you can occasionally hear blasts going off in this area. And if you look very carefully, those are the Molotov cocktails, packed, locked and loaded. So this is how the defense of this area is being mounted. Those who can get out of this battle area are desperately trying to get out of here. Let me try and figure out if we can speak to them. Language is a barrier, and especially if you don't have... Ma'am, can you tell us about what's happening? Okay, so unwilling to talk as of now. But there you see another ambulance is fetching up. This is the active battle area. The speed at which these vehicles are coming, bringing in the injured, water kept on standby for them. And we'll show you that in a rush, virtually in a rush, soldiers are operating these vehicles because no civilian is willing to fly here. An overcast sky, but even in this overcast sky, you can hear the aircraft. You can hear the aircraft, and occasionally you can hear an explosive go off. We will once again get back, and there you see soldiers bringing in the injured, bringing in others who are trying to flee, because this is the only vehicle that is permitted to ply on these roads, and that is not being targeted by either side, whether those are soldiers or militiamen or even, as in some cases the locals here say, Russian assassins who are now, according to these people, targeting anyone and trying to flee this battle area. Now, moments from now, we'll also be going in. We are just waiting because they don't permit individual cars to go. They organize a convoy. When there are some vehicles that are going in, you can either accompany a military convoy or you can follow a convoy. Not the best thing to do in a battle zone, because if you're very close to a military convoy, that convoy is a target, you can easily be targeted. But that is the only way that people are going in beyond this point. But this is, it's almost like a ferry service. An ambulance goes in, brings in the injured, brings in the elderly, brings in the aged, and then takes them out of harm's way. So, Preeti, this is the scenario here. There may be a ceasefire in some pockets, but an active battle zone in this part.
All right, to give our viewers perspective, and Gaurav is also going to do that. Gaurav is about 26 kilometers away, Gaurav, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the capital, Kyiv. It's on the outskirts of Kyiv. Irpin is a city where there isn't any ceasefire. Gaurav, you just told us that the men have to stay and fight, only women, elderly and children allowed. Now, is it mandatory that the men have to stay and fight there, or is it pro-choice?
It's mandatory. It's mandatory. If you're physically fit and you're between 20 and 50, you have to fight. No two ways about it. And no leeway for anything unless you're medically unfit. If you're medically unfit, then you can assist the war effort in whatever way you may choose to. There are some who've joined the cyber army. There are some who've joined, these places. We just showed you those big boxes of Molotov cocktails that are put there. So, if you're physically unable to move, you can sit in a place and make those Molotov cocktails and then keep passing them on. But every Ukrainian citizen as of now is a part of the war effort against Russia, and this is the front line. This is the front line of that battle that's being fought behind us, and we are heading straight there. We will get you ground reports of what's happening in that area, Preeti. But every man is now a fighter. A lot of women are also in active combat. For them, it's not mandatory. For them, it's not mandatory, but they too are pitching in. And again, you see, now these are these ICRC vehicles that are going in. So the Red Cross is also bringing back the injured, whether soldiers or civilians. There you've heard some kind of an explosion has just gone off. Can you hear this?
I can hear it. Very, very mildly, yes, we can.
So this is how the operations are taking place here. Civilian vehicles are also coming out, but the militia, the security, they just check who's inside that vehicle, and then they permit them to go. All these buses again on standby to take people out of harm's way. Preeti.
Gaurav, give us some significance of Irpin, because Irpin is where a lot of casualties have taken place, at least in the last couple of days. People are evacuating from Irpin and getting inside Kyiv, where there is a ceasefire right now.
So there are these three locations right on the outskirts of the Kyiv region, and not just Kyiv city, whether it's Ostomil, Irpin or Chernihiv. Now, these are places which are witnessing an intense battle, because these places are very crucial to the defense of Kyiv. To defend Kyiv, the majority of the Ukrainian defenses are located in these areas, and this is where the battle has come. I mean, you can imagine how close this battle now is to the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. A desperate attempt being made to ensure that the Russian army does not proceed from here. During negotiations, they also hope to extend this ceasefire beyond these four cities to other areas to ensure that the situation may be brought under control. But right now, there is an active conflict that is on in Chernihiv, in Irpin and in some other localities, including in Bucha, incidentally, which again witnessed some heavy artillery exchanges. Of course, there were reports of missile fire even happening towards the south of Ukraine. But this part is very crucial for the defense of the Ukrainian national capital, Preeti.
Gaurav, you also said you could hear the roar of jets. Russia till now hadn't used its air force.
So Russian Air Force, according to the Ukrainian government, has extensively been damaged in this 11-day war. Their point is that in the first 11 days of war, they've destroyed more than 90 Russian fighter jets, attack helicopters and transport helicopters. The figure that was officially put out by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense said till the 10th day of battle, which is 2 days ago, they had lost, the Russian Air Force had lost 44 fighter jets. Okay, so, you're seeing this is a steady stream of ambulances that are coming in. Till the 10th day of battle, the Russians had lost 44 fighter jets and 44 attack and transport helicopters. That number, according to the Ministry of Defense, still early this morning had gone up to 96. So that's the extent of the damage or the losses that the Russians have suffered, according to Ukraine. The Russian Air Force, on the other hand, has said that Ukraine has lost most of its air power in the first 5 days. They claim that more than 90 Ukrainian fighter jets and helicopters were destroyed in the first couple of days of battle, and 14 major air bases were systematically targeted. Vinnytsia was targeted as late as last night. Again, that's on the southern side of Kiev. So now you're looking at this very active battle that's happening on multiple fronts. On the north bank, on the north side where we are right now, close to Irpin or close to Bucha, there is an Ostomel, there is an intense battle that's going on. On the south side, there are missiles that are being fired. The ceasefire is restricted only to Kiev, Kharkiv, Mariupol and Sumy. Now Sumy becomes extremely critical for Indian students, because Indian students hopefully anytime now they would be in the process of safely evacuating them and taking them to Poltava. That's where the Indian teams were based. Get them to Poltava and then get them perhaps to Kyiv, or to take them west and to Lviv and then out to Poland. So that is the game plan as of now, if should that work out. But in this area, the active battle continues.